Hello neighbors, it's Brad here at eTrailer, and today we're taking a look at installing the Blue Ox Patriot portable braking system on a 2022 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited. When it comes to flat towing any vehicle, there's going to be 5 main components that are going to be required. Now, you may have a few auxiliary things that you're going to want to add in, but these are going to cover at least safely getting your vehicle down the road. And starting on the vehicle side, we have our base plate, and this is going to attach to the frame of the vehicle and create the structural mounting point for the rest of the components. And that's where our tow bar is going to hook up to the arms. The tow bar is going to be the physical connection between the hitch on the RV and the base plate on your towed vehicle. Now, going along with it, just like towing a trailer, you're going to have safety cables, and those are going to attach to the base plate as well as the hitch on the RV, and that's just going to keep everything together in case of a disconnect that is very unlikely, but again, you want to make sure your vehicle's not just trucking down the road. And going along with that, a braking system. That's going to slow and stop the vehicle as you apply the brakes on your RV, and you'll have a breakaway switch, and that's going to be in case of a catastrophic disconnect that if everything was to fail, it's going to pull this cable, applying the brakes on the vehicle, and that way it's not rolling down the highway, it'll bring it to a stop. We also have our diode wiring, which is going to transmit the light signals from the taillights on the RV to the taillights on the towed vehicle. So that's going to give you running lights, turn signals, and brake lights. And that just goes from your 7-pull on the RV to the 6-pull on your towed vehicle. Having a portable braking system means that it's going to live in the footwell of your vehicle. And when you apply the brakes on your RV, you can see that the cylinder is going to push on that brake pedal, and that's going to slow and stop the vehicle as necessary. Now, all of this is controlled with a module that's inside your RV, so you can actively see what's going on with your braking system. And one of the great pros of this system is the module that lives on the dash of your RV or wherever you want to mount it up. It's relatively small, and it also comes with a nice pad that doesn't slip, and you can mount that wherever you want where it's visible. And the great part about this is a lot of other braking systems, whether they be fixed or other portables, really don't allow for as much adjustability as this. You have a brake button here, so that's kind of like a manual override on your like a brake controller. You can adjust the force on the fly, and that's where it really makes a difference. If you notice that it's kind of maybe not braking the way you want a little bit more brakes, you can adjust that right here while driving to fine tune it, where other systems you do have to go back to the towed vehicle to adjust that braking. Now, being that it's a portable system, that means if you have multiple vehicles in your fleet or you ever plan on changing your vehicle, you can take that Patriot from vehicle to vehicle, but all of them are going to require the breakaway switch. So you can actually pick up a second vehicle kit, which is going to give you this, as well as the wires to run into the braking system. And this is going to be in case of a catastrophic disconnect. If everything was to fail, this is the last line of defense. It'd pull this cable, and that's going to apply the brakes on the towed vehicle. That way it's not rolling down the road. And while fixed braking systems do offer some convenience, if you're planning on keeping your Jeep for a while, it's nice because all you really have to do is plug in and go. You don't have to set up a braking system like our Blue Ox, but really the installation does get a little bit trickier, whereas this one, it's pretty simple. You have your breakaway switch, you just plug that in, you'll route power from the breakaway switch to the brake system. You might also want to look at getting a 12-volt outlet kit, and that's going to put an outlet in the footwell. That way you can plug in that braking system. It's really easy. It just ties into the battery. So overall, this is a system that you really don't need to be an expert to get this installed. You can definitely do this at home, and I'll walk you through every step. So let's take a look at that. Now, when it comes to getting your Blue Ox Patriot installed, it's actually really easy. So if you're doing this installation on your own, and if you've already done your base plate, this is a cakewalk compared to a lot of the fixed systems out there. And just like any braking system that you're going to have on a flat-towed vehicle, it starts with this breakaway switch, and this bolts up to a tab that we had already on our base plate. So with this bolted, you can see our 2 wires go into a plug. I've attached this to the plug, and this wire runs inside to our vehicle. But once you make that connection, it's going to live in the front of the vehicle. So I recommend wrapping that up in some electrical tape just to kind of prevent any water from getting in those connections. And the rest of the routing, this wire is going to just head up towards the firewall on our vehicle. So I'll get this lowered down and show you exactly where I routed it. And when running the wire up through the engine bay, you want to make sure that you're staying away from anything that's moving or potentially hot that can damage the cable. So the best route that I've found is following the frame rail. My diode wiring zip tied up there, so I kind of followed the same path there and eventually pulling it up right by our windshield washer fluid. The grommet that we're going to be using is kind of tucked back here by the booster. It's kind of tricky to get to. It's just a twist, a quarter turn, we'll get that out. And I was able to pass my wire through there, but an easier way to do it is going in the footwell of your vehicle, looking up for that grommet, and I drilled from the inside out. It's a safe drilling spot. There's not a whole lot that it can, catch on with a drill bit, so I think that's an easier way. Here you can see I have that grommet drilled out where I passed my plug through. I'm going to go back and fill that with a little bit of RTV silicone later on, just to kind of make sure that it's all watertight long term. Now, something else that you're going to want to consider when passing this wire in is if you're putting a 12-volt outlet kit, which we have mounted up on this Jeep, you're also going to want to run that wire through the same grommet and eventually to the battery, and that's going to give you constant 12-volt power supply to your Patriot. Now, we use the Roadmaster 12-volt outlet kit. It's super simple. It just mounts up underneath and allows you to run directly to the battery, so you constantly have 12-volt power supply to your cigarette-style plug for your Patriot. It's really nice, too, because you're able to mount that up in the footwell, so you'll have all of your connections for your braking system right there. So once you have this ran, it's going to be pretty easy here. We're just going to plug this into our 12-volt outlet. And then we'll take our Patriot, and this is how it locks on the brake pedal. So this will draw up, and then once you have it set, wrapped around the pedal, you can push this button. That's going to drop down, clamping onto there. So we'll lock this up, slide this in place. And I just push that tab, and that's going to put it on that brake pedal. And at this point, you're going to be adjusting the feet, your seat, as well as the seat rests to really create a nice pressure against this so it can actuate the pedal. You want to make sure that it's not constantly putting pressure. That's going to drag your brakes, and the system does a really good job of kind of homing itself. So I got my 12-volt power hooked up. We'll just take our our wire that we ran in from our breakaway switch, put this here. I'm going to move my seat forward, and I've already kind of pre-adjusted this. You're going to want to make sure to take your floor mat out. That way it's not having anything loose to slide on. I move my seat pretty well close to the edge. And there's going to be a little bit of play, so don't be surprised there. And we'll just push our power button, our setup button. It's going to actuate. And if it's happy with that setup, it'll be ready to go. And that was a look and installation of the Blue Ox Patriot portable braking system on a 2022 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited.